Bethlehem is where I'm going, and I'm going to the promised land. Yeah. And I don't always know my direction, but in faith and love I hope I stand. That if I ask her for guidance, I'm guided by the Almighty High. And every time I'm feeling inspired, I take my guitar in my two hands. Your love is all the time I need work to reach that holy Zion land. And I won't let them take it away. No, I won't be led astray, no. And I don't need to ride nobody's coattails, and I don't need no one to hold my hand. I'm gonna make it on my own 2 feet. I'm gonna make it on my blood, sweat, and tears. I'm gonna make it, not gonna fake it. No way, no. Ha! La 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 la. La 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 la. They said get a degree, but it wasn't for me. How you educate another Almighty through music? Teach me love, teach me to use it. All I ever wanted was to spread your love, and the only way that I could rise above was music. The sweet reggae music. So every note I play is to give praise. That's why I play guitar and I sing. And I wouldn't trade these blisters on my fingers for no diamond rings. No way. I sing just for the love of your music, to pick you up when you are tattered and worn. And if I sound a little bit hoarse, it's cause I've been singing since the day I was born. Oh Lord, and I just wanna sing a little bit more. Yeah, and I'm sure that you can feel me. Don't need you to know just where I'm coming from, but I need you to feel me. Yeah. So you can go take it and make it your own song, yo. And don't you let them take it away. No, no, don't you let them lead you astray. No, no, you're gonna make it on your own. Feel you're gonna make it on your blood, sweat, and tears. You're gonna make it, not gonna fake it. No way, no. Oh, I will never sell my soul to them. So many already giving in, never caught the confusion, suffering delusions. All this dirt that we've been digging in, searching for something that we would never find. Oh, mankind, we can let them take it away. No, 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 we won't let them lead us astray. And we don't need no president to lead us, and we don't need no general to take a stand. We're gonna make it on our own 2 feet. We're gonna make it on our blood, sweat, and tears. We're gonna make it, not gonna fake it. No way, no, no. Every man, every woman, every child, one family, all singing together in one perfect harmony. It's not so far away, we're gonna make it someday. Thank you. Thanks a lot. So long you're sleeping, you've been under a spell for far too long. Time to wake up, hey, you've been far away dreaming. Thought you were in heaven, but you were living in hell. Of our return to a higher consciousness, we're moving on to Mount Zion to the higher heights. No more been be more than we were with this Babylon nonsense. We've been sleeping, but now our skin could feel the water. Time to wake up. It's been so long you're sleeping. You've been under a spell for far too long. Time to wake up. You've been far away dreaming. Thought you were in heaven, but you were living in hell. I like to ask you now, and you shall be forgiven, and the kingdom of joy shall be open to you. Righteousness is the path of the living, and the wicked shall perish in the sight of the pure and true. A time has come and we need to know, are you ready for this revolution? Oh my Lord, now a time is sure now we got to go. So are you ready for this soul revelation? Wake up from the sleep and your slumbering. You've been under a spell for far too long. Inside of your heart there's a storm that is thunder. The love is breaking through and the clouds are living rain. Come out of the shadows and step into the light. Our Lord, it's time to show your face now. It's time to do the right. Oh yeah, 'cause in between the sorrows and in between the lies, yeah, Lord, I can see your true heart. I see it in your eyes. never. A chanting to those who would pierce my soul, saying I'm not afraid of forever. Now I am a part of a greater whole, just a piece in the puzzle of Zion, or trying to find just where I belong. Come together, a bunch of just children, with far running back to our one true home. So come out of the shadows and step into the light. Lord, it's time to show your face now. It's time to do the right. Oh, yeah, yeah. 'Cause in between the sorrows and in between the lies, yeah, Lord, I can see a true heart. I see it in your eyes. Ooh. Ooh. Open up the window, the air is blowing thick with stale lies force-fed to us by mindless politicians, servants to a beast invisible even to them. Our every waking moment lives within a half-light, blinded by the unseen seeds of oppression, planted within the minds of generation after generation. But come listen, brothers, come listen, my sisters. No, we don't have to hate them, no, we don't have to fear them. 'Cause for all the chemical weapons, bioengineered viruses and poisonous gases and nuclear weapons, they don't have no weapon that can kill a soul, and they don't have no weapon that can kill your music. So open up the window, let your love come pouring in. Open up the window, let your love come pouring in. Open up the window, let your love come pouring in. Let your love come pouring in. Let your love come pouring in. Up the window, let your love come pouring in. Let your love come pouring in. Let your love come pouring in. Open up the window, let your love come pouring in. Open up the window, let your love come pouring in. Open up the window, let your love come pouring in. Open up the window. It's time to wake up. It's been so long you're sleeping. You've been under a spell for far too long. Time to wake up. You've been far away dreaming. Thought you were in heaven, but you were living in hell. And so asking now when you shall be forgiven, and the kingdom of joy shall be open to you. Righteousness is the path of the living, and the wicked shall perish in the sight, the sight, the sight, the sight, the sight of the pure and true. freedom fighters are rising. We're taking a stand, Lord, for the good of man. 'Cause some places it still exists. The goodness that you feel in every touch and every kiss. The supreme bliss that deep down in your heart you know. So clear away the blocks and let your love light overflow. Yeah, man, a human, a woman, no overstand. You're only a victim if you choose to be a helpless lamb. So take your stand and grab your freedom while you can. Don't let them lead you by the hand into the sorrow. This is such awakening. Then you feel the quickening. Armageddon is nearing, the hour is at hand. Oh Lord, this is such awakening. Prophecy is fulfilling. Freedom fighters are rising. We're taking a stand, Lord, for the good of man. 'Cause if all there is to life is to slave away from 9 to 5 just to end up in an early grave. To earn a wage, to pay up the debts you accumulate. Gotta get 2 jobs.
All right. What is up? Happy Sunday, everybody. As you can see, we have some additional folks here today. It's a happy day here at the Platinum Compound. So we're doing things a little different today because why not? Let's try it. Let's switch some things up a little bit. Because Miss Lauren, who has been on our stream before, is back from her trip to Brazil. You got back Tuesday?
Yeah.
Yeah. She got back Tuesday. She was gone for like 10 days. Competed twice while there. Got a lot of training in. It was her first time to Brazil. I think she went by herself, which, according to so many people around, is like a death sentence apparently or something. But she seemed to be fine. So maybe it's funny. It's the people from Brazil, it seems, that say the like worst things about going to Brazil by yourself.
Well, it's stuff like we would say about Baltimore.
I guess, yeah, that is
because
true.
you know there
Yeah,
are
that
bad
is true.
areas.
That is true.
But as long as you stay out of them,
Yeah.
I don't do stupid stuff,
Yeah.
and you'll be okay.
Did you want to talk about your trip a little bit?
Sure. So yeah, I was down in Brazil. I went to Rio and Sao Paulo, and I trained with the Alliance gyms there because our professor, he comes from Alliance lineage, so it was really great to stop by there, and it was immediately like being with family. That was great. So I got to fight against, I think it was 4 different girls from Brazil in 5 different matches, and I trained with so many purple, brown, and black belt women and men, and it was incredible to see the skill level down there. A lot of people, they just do jiu-jitsu, and they'll teach private lessons to make their income there. So it was great to see the difference between American Jiu-Jitsu and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and kind of where I stack up there. And it was a lot of fun. I was able to get 2nd place at the Sul-Americano in Sao Paulo, and I unfortunately lost the first round of BJJ Pro in Rio, and I'm actually going to show today where I made one of the mistakes, and if I hadn't made this mistake, I think I would have definitely been able to win that match. But, you know, they say you win or you learn, and it's one of those never again type of moments. But yeah, went down there by myself, but it was great. They have amazing food. They have fruit that you just can't get up here. I love passion fruit and guava, and can't find it here.
Yeah, no.
I bought some boxes of juice up here because I even got juice boxes down there. They were fantastic. It's just not the same.
I bet.
Yeah.
What also the competition where you lost your first match? That was like your second or third day there, wasn't it?
Yeah, I had gotten in the day before.
Okay, so it's like, yeah. So
hadn't had a chance to train yet. And the thing is, with Rio, it was so hot and humid.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
Yeah.
In my first training session Monday morning, my entire gi was soaked all the way to the tip of my hair, completely soaked. And by the 5th round, I was completely gassed out. And my partner, he was like, "Are you gonna be sick?" I was like, "No, I'm just really tired." But you get acclimated pretty.
Yeah.
Pretty.
Well, that's to get down there and compete. Basically, your second day there with the environment and stuff. I think that's Irwin.
Oh, the acai. So they sell acai at a lot of the competitions up here, and unfortunately, it's kind of ruined for me now because when you go down there, you don't need all the toppings. It's very thick and flavorful and not sugary, and it just made me realize that the stuff here is basically ice and sugar. It's so sad.
What's your favorite BJJ fighters? I'll answer last.
I don't have an opinion. Okay, so what was amazing at the Sul Americana was watching Bianca Basilio. She fights sometimes feather, light, middle. She'll bounce around, but she won the open class women, so she's around my size, and to see her just take everybody out.
That's awesome.
I love her. I also love Bia Mesquita. She got double gold at Nogi Worlds, and Bia Basilio is just fresh off an ADCC win.
Nice.
Yeah, so I love following those women.
I think my favorite BJJ fighter is probably Rafael Lovato Jr. He's the first guy I kind of started to try to mimic my game after because he has a similar body type to me. I think he's a little bigger than me. That being said, he's the 185 Bellator champion, so obviously I haven't weighed 185 and probably, I don't know, since I was young. So, but he's similar to my size, but the game he plays is kind of the game I like to play. It's like just pressure, passing, being very versatile, but then getting, the game I want to play is I have a lot of options when I'm on bottom to sweep you, and then when I sweep you, my pressure passing just mauls you and tires you out, and you don't have any options. I don't give you a lot of outs, and then just get them out, get the back, and finish. Whenever I watch him compete, that's pretty much almost every match he has is that, he passes their guard, he mounts them, and then they're done. So today, what we wanted to talk about was what I wanted to talk about, and there was a agreement among us that we wanted to talk about omoplatas. The reason being is I haven't talked about it too much on the stream, but also Lauren here is great with her omoplata game. I think it's probably one of the first things you really, I remember when you were just starting and early, you were really good at that.
Thanks.
So it's one of those things, it's funny when her and I roll and she gets me in the omoplata spots, I think afterwards she says, "Oh, thanks for letting me work there," or "Thanks for like whatever," and I'm like, I couldn't get out. I tell her all the time, I'm like, my only out option is if I picked you up and just slammed you onto the ground. That's my option, because I could do that because I'm just bigger, but I'm obviously not going to do that. But yeah, I feel kind of so behind when she gets me stuck in omoplatas because she knows all the escapes that I'm going to try, so she's already ahead. Usually what happens is I start to work an escape and end up, in an omoplata again. It's pretty fun. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I've shown one or two omoplata type things from different positions. I think I've talked about it as an option from specific positions we've talked about or we've covered in the stream, but we never covered omoplata as a whole. So what I wanted Lauren to do was kind of break down her favorite setups, or favorite setup. We'll just probably go over one. And her setup for the omoplata. She can talk about the details of that, and then she can also talk about once you get into into the omoplata, how to break them down and how to finish. And I think that's where she'll go into what she was talking about, the mistakes she made in her one match. Um, you know, it sometimes in the heat of a match, you miss something, the little thing happens, and then boom. So we're going to talk about that. So today I'm going to get a break. I don't have to get thrown around or my arms twisted or nothing because I'm going to let the ladies do all the work today. Yes. I'm just going to sit around mansplaining everything. So yeah. I think the best way. I think the best way to show this first would be with Ingrid facing this way, kind of like we did before the stream, and then Lauren this way. And then I'm going to let Lauren go ahead and talk about what she likes to do or how she likes to set this up.
Alright, so if you guys have rolled with me, you probably know that my go-to takedown is going to be your collar drag. And I do that in competition. Basically, as long as nobody figures out how to stop it, I'm going to keep trying to collar drag you. So I love the next point of this where, say your collar drag doesn't quite work or you just really like these grips, is playing collar and sleeve guard. So I'm going to keep this grip here. I'm going to get the collar grip. What I'm going to do here is get my foot on the hip. So here, and keep that fully extended out. Because here I have Ingrid's posture broken by pulling this arm and the collar, but keeping my leg fully out is what's going to keep that distance away. So it makes it a lot more difficult for her to move around. I can use this other leg to also work with this distance here. Sometimes you'll get a free spider guard grip if they grip onto your pants and you're like, all right, cool, thanks. But you can also kind of go on the shoulder, just kind of keep them away. Now, if Ingrid's facing into me, it's really easy to shoot up for a triangle, but since today's Omoplata day, we're going to work if she's a little farther away. So I'm going to take this sleeve that I have here, and I'm going to take my hand and use my knuckles to turn her arm away from me, because to get this omoplata, I need her elbow to bend back. So I'm going to keep everything in here tight. I'm going to rotate her elbow, and I'm going to rotate my body and immediately lock up this triangle, sit up, and control over her back.
Okay. So go ahead now and spin around. She's going to show it from the other direction too, so she can show punching that the arm down, so you can get a different view of this.
So this is something you can also get from just complete, like if you pull guard even, just to sit back and kind of on the side to that hip and then square back up. The main thing here is going to be extending that leg and keeping this posture broken. But I'm going to have to kind of square a little bit back up to get this. So I'm going to rotate, and you see how that punches her elbow kind of to the back. And then I can rotate my own body, so I'm going to be parallel to Ingrid here.
Sit back up. Very good. Cool. So one of the things, if you notice, both times she came up, she immediately shot her hand over and blocked the hip. That's to stop the person from rolling, and that's
yeah. So when I was in Rio for BJJ Pro, I did this exact same setup, except she was on her knees here. But I'm like, okay, cool. She was having a hard time passing. I'm feeling really comfortable. So I shot this up, but I kept my hand here instead of transitioning and kept the hand on the sleeve because I was worried about her getting that out. And she got, Ingrid, can you step over my head?
Oh, yep.
So she was able to get over here. And yeah, we fought a bit, and I tried to pivot back under her to get back to the omoplata. But eventually she ended up in this position, eventually got her arm free. And I got to spend about 3 minutes getting smashed in side control by somebody that weighs 10 or 15 pounds more than me. And yeah, you know what? She got one stalling penalty there, but honestly, the responsibility was on me to get out. I didn't get out. She had very good shoulder pressure.
Yeah.
So that is very important.
Yes. Because the person that's stuck in the omoplata is going to react in a couple of different ways. Usually, they're going to try to posture up and kind of stack you up. I know that's what I try to do immediately when I get stuck in there. Um, and if they feel like they can hop over to the other side, they're going to do that. The thing being is, if they hop over to the other side and they keep very low, uh, you're going to have a hard time reestablishing that omoplata. Because one of the things you can do, and maybe you could show, go ahead, get back in the omoplata real quick.
The pivot back through.
Yes. So
Yeah.
if Ingrid here hops over her, go ahead and hop over, but she stays pretty high up, you can see how Lauren can scoot under and reestablish that omoplata. But what I do when I jump over someone like that, I immediately make sure I'm getting like either a grip on their collar or underhooking their head, so that I can keep them from getting back under me. Because then I can start to smash them.
Exactly.
Yep.
As soon as she got that grip in above my head, it blocked me from getting under.
Yep. Yeah.
And didn't work out too great.
I want to say it was 2 or 3. I think it was 3 weeks ago. I talked about in my stream about the lasso guard. I talked about how I use the lasso guard to go under to set up an omoplata. It's the same thing. When they jump over, they're basically jumping over into a lasso kind of guard, but one where they're really on your side. And if you can invert back under them, you can shoot right back up into that omoplata. That's one of the things I like about the omoplata positioning is there's a lot of options as the person attacking, because as you saw with the setup, depending on how your opponent is, the triangle's there. Because you have the sleeve already set, you can shoot that leg under and shoot your other leg over. It's kind of the same thing. Like if let's switch out real quick, and I'll just. No. I mean, you can. Like if let's say, she's omoplating, because this is something she does to me a lot, is when she gets me an omoplata, go ahead and get here. I'm here and I'm posturing up big, I'm making sure that I can, I'm not flattened back out. Well, she always has the option of opening her legs and transitioning to a triangle. If I'm coming in here, boom, right, yep, boom. And that's what I really like about the omoplata itself, is that she has so many different options depending on what I do. Let's talk about breaking the person down, because one of the things we really want to do is, if you see in most of these situations, you're going to end up going and getting an omoplata where you're turtled. When you get the person in an omoplata and you have them turtled like this, you're in a good position, but it's going to be hard to finish because of the way their body is set up. So if you want to go ahead and talk about how you break people down from here, because we want to get them like on their side. We want to get them kind of laying down to really finish this.
So the first option that I think that people should go for is just the extend your legs out, puts pressure on her shoulder, control the hip, and scoot out until they're broken down.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to cover one thing that happens to me a lot. I go to omoplatas to try to work on big guys a lot, which is why John's on the receiving end of it, because he's hard to sweep anywhere else. So sometimes, let's
yeah, there you go.
Perfect. Here.
Okay.
Yep.
So sometimes you just can't really budge them here. So I'll actually switch my hands to the far hand controlling on the hip, and the other one I'm gonna cup with the C grip onto her close to me ankle. Yeah.
I don't know if you can see. It's okay.
Yeah.
We
Can rotate. But anyway, I'm grabbing her close ankle, and this way, as soon as I start scooting out, she no longer has a post there and has no choice but to fall down, because I'm still pulling, but then I'm pushing on the back.
So from this state, you actually stay there if you can. Sorry, your shoulders are going to be very very loose today.
Should have warmed up.
Yeah. So once we get them broken down like this, the thing is to now figure out how are we going to finish them.
Let's scooch forward.
Yeah, let me move
There.
So once they're broken down like this is where we can really start to finish, because most likely Lauren's probably going to keep her weight on top of her back so that Ingrid can't turtle
I'm
back
also
up.
keeping my elbow tight.
Yeah. Because she doesn't want. I mean, if she doesn't put some weight on to Ingrid's back, Ingrid's just gonna get right back up in that turtle, and we're gonna have to break her down again. And sometimes from these positions, they'll get back up, and we have to break them down multiple times. That's fine. We can do that if we need to. Um, but I wanted to talk a little bit about the finishing. If your shoulder's starting to get a little
Okay. Yeah,
tender,
I'm not
I
putting
can
pressure
swap in
on it.
and I can swap
Yeah.
in and let my arm get twisted up a little bit.
She's better at being gentle than you.
Well, sorry, I'm just a
All right, so I have a bad shoulder, so I'm very empathetic
Yeah.
here.
So one of the things that I kind of learned about the omoplata and finishing it was that right now she's in a good position, and she can start to she can turn her leg out and start to come up and and she'll eventually get the tap. But just like anything, when I've talked about with collar chokes, where our wrists being involved and being punched up will really lessen the time it takes for us to get the finish, or pinching our knees when we're arm barring can finish arm bars quicker. There's also the concept of how to finish this a little cleaner. And one of the things that our coach has talked about a lot is kind of scooting out a little bit to see how she kind of comes out a little bit, and it puts the pressure of her knee more into this in between groove in the shoulder. So when she starts to come up, it's isolating the arm more than twisting the shoulder. With any of these things, it's the same concept I talk about with when I go for Kimuras. I want to try to get their shoulder out of the mix as much as possible. Because what I'm doing is I'm twisting their arm. I'm not really twisting their shoulder. It's a shoulder lock because the arm's getting twisted, which then the damage, if there's going to be damage, and this is where the submission comes from, it's in the shoulder. But we don't want the shoulder involved as much, because the shoulder is kind of like the foundation of the whole structure of their arm from that perspective. So what we're doing is, when we scoot out a little bit, go ahead and scoot back out a little bit. Now,
And it's also not a straight scoot. It's kind of at this angle here.
because now if you look, her shoulder, which is mostly here, is kind of out of play. And what's happening is, as she then starts to come up, it's just twisting the arm, and that's it. And we don't have to. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to put you through all of that.
So that's I think that's an important little detail to remember with the omoplata, is that where we want to try to, if we can, get the shoulder out of the mix, because then we're just simply twisting the arm and not allowing the shoulder to kind of, because they'll kind of, I don't know, tighten up to where they're kind of locking their shoulder in place, because so it kind of makes it harder. And as soon as you scoot out, it extends this out, and now the arm is just getting twisted as opposed to the whole structure. At the end of the day, a lot of times you're going to get these finishes one way or the other. But if you have someone that has really, really loose shoulders, or they're just really, not frustrating. What's the word I'm looking for? They're very, well, they're flexible, but they don't want to tap.
Okay.
They're just like, they're hell bent on like, I'm not tapping. I don't have to tap to this. You're going to
Those
have
are
to.
the people that scare me, because I know where the limit is on an omoplata, and I got hurt from an omoplata, and I'm like, you guys okay?
it's like I don't think you should allow it to twist this much.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. We talk about a lot on the stream. Especially if it's training, just tap. They got you. It's okay. Move on. It's fine. There's no reason to try to fight through it. The other thing I wanted to talk about is, let me jump in here real quick for this, is, let's say we wanted to make sure we were having a hard time. Go ahead and get the omoplata with your legs crossed. Yes. So if I'm here and I'm, basically able to keep my head extended up, and she can't really break me down, how do we go about, breaking someone down from here? So what we have to do is one of the cool things about the omoplata is we don't have to crisscross our legs like this all the time. Like, we can have our legs not crossed and still have an omoplata attack. We're still here. And we have a lot of movement we can do from this position. This inside leg, has a lot of control over me. But let's say, she wanted to make sure I was starting to get broke down. what she would do is she would uncross her legs, or you could, yeah, she crosses her ankles and extends and straightens this. See that? Yes. And so if she has her legs totally figure forward, go ahead and wear the full figure forward. Yes. She has her legs figure forward like this. It's going to be hard to extend out to put the pressure on the back of my shoulder, because if she extends out with it really crossed, it's kind of.
So I like that because it keeps my legs pinched
Mhm.
around your arm. It doesn't really
Yes.
loosen it up. So that's just why
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's nothing wrong
but-
with that. Like,
yeah.
and the thing is, if you have it pinched like that, you don't have to focus on controlling the wrist. Like, one of the things I do a lot of is making sure I'm keeping a grip on this wrist that's in here. But that's also because my omoplata control isn't the best. So a lot of times I get loose with my legs, and then people get out. But if she really like let's say I was really up like this, and I was, she really wanted to flatten me out, she could uncross her legs and then basically kick this inside foot straight forward, and it's just gonna smash. It's just gonna get me down. And now she can keep this leg straighter to where I can't. It's yeah. See how like if you straighten that leg, yeah. If she straightens this leg, I can't really come up. I'm trying to push. Oh. All right, I'm going to stop that. That's really hard. And it's because, basically the straightening of her whole body is keeping the top of me into the mat. And then once I stop fighting, she can cross her legs again and start to really work on breaking me back down. But that's an important thing to note if you're going against people. Okay, let me out now. If you're going against folks that are much bigger than you, a lot of times they're going to try to muscle up, and they're going to try to like even explode out of it and stuff. And what I found is if you just open that, uncross your legs and kick that leg that's on the shoulder forward, it's going to really smash them into the mat. It's going to be very hard for them to get back up. If they're really fighting and fighting and fighting to get back up, and you just keep that leg kind of extended out, your body's kind of, the structure of your body being straight is making it very difficult for them to posture back up. And then eventually they'll stop fighting because they'll get tired, or they'll just be wasting a lot of energy there. And that's when you can start to transition to flattening them out and finishing and doing all that kind of other stuff. So just important little notes to remember about the omoplata. The other thing I wanted to point out, and this is where and it goes into a lot of the options that we have from the omoplata. Well, first off, I guess let me ask, because there's a good number of people on here. Does anyone have any questions about that? Anyone want to ask Lauren any specific questions about this? Think they can stump her with something? If not, it's cool. We'll move on to another concept or another part of the omoplata game. But I know we're kind of jumping through some stuff here, so I wanted to make sure no one has any questions about anything specific or any problems they've had omoplating folks and stuff and ran into. I'll give it like 20 seconds.
Yeah, there seems to be lag when you.
Yeah, sometimes
Chat
the
in.
people will chat in, and then it takes a little bit before it pops up
Yeah.
on the.
I always feel bad. Like I'm responding to you in the chat,
Mhm.
and then it's like 10 seconds later, and then you've started talking, and you have to go
Yeah.
back. I feel bad.
Well, that's what the problem we had with the Facebook when we had this on Facebook
Mm-hmm.
was the chat was actually kind of up to date in Facebook, but the video on Facebook was like way behind.
Wow.
Like we'd end up, because they'd lag out or something, and we'd end up like 3 minutes behind. Like people are watching Twitch, people are watching YouTube, and if you switched over to Facebook, it's like 3 minutes behind where they are. But they're chatting in real time, so people are asking
Oh,
questions
my.
about things 3-4 minutes ago, and I'm like,
Yeah.
We weren't doing that.
yeah, we're not talking about. We're way past that now.
Yeah.
So it doesn't look like anybody has any questions. So what I wanted to show now was, let's say you can't break the other person down. Let's say they're really postured up.
Oh, yay.
Problem I have is usually with bigger guys and breaking down their posture, I try keeping the hips down, pitching the knees, weight of the knee on the shoulder, just haven't mastered all that yet against the bigger guys. And so there's two things I would say, and if you have something to add into this, that's where that straightening of the leg really can help,
Mhm.
because it really becomes a fight of your whole body weight against basically their kind of strength of it, of posturing up. Now, I think you probably know that. I mean, you've been training around us for a while now. I'm guessing that's Zerwin. I'm Zarkan. I'm pretty sure that's Zerwin.
Yeah, because he talked about the SIE.
Yes. So,
That's like,
Yeah, he said yeah.
okay. So, um, you know, even as a smaller guy, I feel like straightening out and kicking forward really kind of puts a lot of pressure on them. But at the same time, if you're going against someone like Kyle size or something, it's going to be tough. And that's where I feel like moving more is probably going to be your better option. And that actually will lead into what we were going to get into next. You know, Zerwin have. Oh, hey, look, it's the gentleman I was just about to mention actually. I think the big detail of breaking down bigger guys isn't so much straightening the leg. Of course, you will need to do that to keep pressure forward, but relying on pressure straight forward to battle their base of the hand, redirecting your pressure to forward, then circling to the right where there is no base. Yeah, okay, so that's a good point. Because if they're based out and you're driving into that, yeah.
Can you like? I need a visual. I'm a little confused on here.
Sure. So I think what he's saying is this. Go ahead and get me back into that Omoplata. So when people are based up, you know, they're based here. And I think what he's talking, and let me know if you're, you obviously give another detail or two if you want, is when, go ahead and uncross your legs and straighten. He's not straightening back, see, because I have my hand based. I think he's talking about like turning out that way more and yes,
Okay.
like that.
So kind of pulling you forward and away from your arm.
Yes.
Yeah, to put the pressure in here at an angle.
Yes, because it's really hard for me. I'm not going to necessarily be able to base into you and under you as much, because I think I'm going to have the same exact problem if I base too far over here.
Yeah.
When you extend out, I'm going to fall down this way.
Yeah.
So most people are basing over here to create this base, and so I think what he's talking about, and like I said, correct me if you're wrong, Stephen, is when you straighten this leg out, you're kind of pushing me this direction as opposed to straight. Because straight I can base. But as soon as she starts to pull this way, and boom, I'm going to fall this way. And now
Okay, it's good. This one.
I'm really stuck. What's up, Blubber? Oh, I'm still sore from the other day. That's what happens when you get too old. So hopefully that helps you, Zerwin, with that concept is changing the angle. Yep. Okay. Hold the control grip. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's I think especially
I agree with that.
yeah.
Like I feel like this in this case does give you the bigger pinch.
No, that's true.
I mean, there's gonna be like when we're doing an armbar, I actually don't like that because I feel like that doesn't give you as much pressure. But with the omoplata, I actually do like
well,
that.
I think when I'm talking about uncrossing, I'm also talking about being able to transition to the triangle as they posture up. I'm thinking the having multiple options. But yeah, I think whenever I've had trouble with getting broken down by JP, it's because he does exactly that. He's crossing his legs and using both legs to drive that down.
Yeah, the ice pick type of thing.
Yep. And
It's hard.
that's that, and that's where
It's a lot of pressure.
yeah, it's hard defending it by putting your hand on the mat to defend opens a triangle attack. That's why defending you should base with your feet. Yeah, yes, and that's what we're going to talk about towards the end. We're going to talk about some escapes or defending the omoplata, and we'll get into that because you're right. Thankfully, for whatever reason, whenever I base with my hand, I don't run into the problem of people triangle me a lot, but I don't also get stuck in omoplatas a lot. Against you, I end up getting stuck there a lot of times because you're just good at setting it up on me. And then JP's gotten me in it where I just can't get out. Whenever I roll with JP, anything I do is wrong.
Yeah,
That's pretty much what happens.
Yeah.
And however I react is almost always wrong. So one of the things we wanted to talk about a little bit, and you can go ahead and jump back in there now, was the option, and we're not going to get into this too detailed, but it's just something to be aware. You know, a lot of times when I'm covering something or we're covering something here, you know, there might be a stream day where I focus on one aspect of a position and we'll get really detailed in it. Today, because we're talking about the omoplata in general, I want to kind of give you a lot of the views of what can happen or where you can go with it. So one of the things that can happen is, let's say you're having some problems breaking them down. Maybe they're just a lot bigger than you. We have a lot of options to go and sweep them backwards as well. And we'll kind of go and show what that looks like a little bit. Go ahead, scoot up a little bit.
Steven made one more comment. Did he? Oh no.
That's
that was
that's
same
the one
thing.
with the triangle.
I
Yeah.
don't have great vision far away.
Oh, mine's got. Well, you know what? I could probably. I think I could probably make the chat bigger. I should look into that because it is probably silly for us. We're like, why? Give it another
Did they
5.
look even more old?
Give it another 5 years, Steven. Your eyes will be the same way. Where it's just like, I can't read anything. It sucks.
Oh,
So
my.
go ahead and
Anyway.
go back into the omoplata here. So one of the other options we can have here is that, let's say, for example, we can't break them down. We're having a lot of trouble. They're getting postured up. Or they're really, and this is where I go with this, is when I'm omoplating someone that's much bigger than me, and they're using a lot of explosion and a lot of strength, I guess you could say it, to posture back up. One of the things we have as an option is not necessarily being committed, and this is what's great about jiu-jitsu, is we have, in this position in particular, is we have so many different options of where to go. So let's say, you know, forward isn't the only way we can go. Let's say Ingrid's really posturing up, like explosively. She's really posturing up where she really wants to do this. And then, you know, and then Lauren gets her back down, and then Ingrid postures back up again. Boom. Okay? We're going to use this situation to essentially, and don't roll on your ankles too bad. Lauren's essentially going to backwards roll. And she's going to use that momentum and the position to sweep Ingrid during one of these explosions. And this is when I generally hit this against bigger folk, is when I've really made them commit to posturing up. So Lauren gets her broke down again, and Ingrid goes to posture back up. Lauren backs, boom, and rolls backwards. And now I'm in the way.
Can I mention some stuff
Yes,
here?
yes. So, but I just want to point out that that's an option we have, is that when they're exploding up, we can backwards roll. And then now Lauren can go into some details on that.
Alright, so I like to use omoplatas to sweep bigger guys a lot because I feel like it's a lot kind of easier. They usually have really good bases. So now we're in more of an omoplata mount type of position, and a really key thing here is to keep your legs pinched. So I still have this elbow control and this wrist control. First thing I'm going to mention is that you can roll completely back into the omoplata here, but if we roll back, sorry. Anyway, so now we're up on top. You are going to have a lot of attacks here. You can do pretty much anything with this arm, straight arm bar, got wrist locks here. A lot of times the person will hold their hands together to defend. Let's rotate a little bit.
Do we need to move up?
Yeah, scoot up a little bit.
Yeah. So something that's really cool here is if she goes ahead and brings her arm over, she's actually exposing this elbow here. Go ahead and link up.
Sorry. Yeah.
And you can actually link up a Kimura grip, use that pressure to kind of slide out, and now we're up in side control,
More.
go north-south, etc. So I really like the options you have from that.
One of the things, I'll go back to the omoplata mount real quick. One thing I'll point out, one detail that I try to use when I'm here is that I try my best and control the, there. I try, once I'm here, use your outside hand to control that arm. I try to make sure I'm blocking this hip here, whether it's or because what I find is if I get here, especially against guys like Kyle. Big guys have been on my stream before. Let's turn sideways a little bit more. Sorry. Yeah, this way. If I don't block their hip in some way or block them from coming up, what ends up happening is they'll turn up into me and start to kind of get me off base and attack this way, which I against guys like Kyle, where he's a lot of person to hold down.
Yeah.
I have trouble maintaining this position.
And what probably didn't show on the stream was this tiny little thing Ingrid did. She got her elbow, turn back into me. As soon as she got her elbow past my legs, position was all gone.
Yeah.
That's why this elbow control is so important.
Yep. But from here we can take that other hand and we can push that arm out. We can wrist lock from there. We can do a lot of different things. There's even the option to go ahead and sorry Ingrid. Keep that. Pull that up and sit on her chest a little bit more. Like,
I feel bad.
it's okay.
It's all right.
She's tough.
Better you than him.
Yeah. Well, exactly. It's like
That is true.
Yeah. So a lot of times what I try to do from this position is also make sure I'm putting my weight kind of into their chest a little bit. That's going to keep them from coming up, but it also gives me an option that I like, and I actually am still recovering. I hurt my foot doing this.
Which one?
The where I take that, I backstep that foot.
All the way or to the triangle?
Well, to the other side of her head, it's for the triangle.
Yeah.
So we can also backstep here and boom, triangle from this position as well. Like one of the things I like to do, and go ahead. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to use you for this. You're gonna,
Better you than me.
Yeah. So when I've come up here and I have this control here, where, as she was saying, the elbow is really what's important to control here, because as soon as this elbow comes through and I lose it, I have to flatten out. I have to change the position because I'm going to lose this. That's why I like to either keeping the grip here or cupping the elbow so that they can't get in or get out. But one of the things I like to do, let's turn this way a little bit, is, as I said, I'm kind of getting my weight, into her. And this is where I hurt my foot the other day against, when I say the other day, a couple weeks ago, it still is giving me problems. If I'm here, I'm blocking so she can't come up. I can punch the legs, whatever. The important thing is this elbow control. But what I like to do from here, if I feel like I can't attack this, and we have different attacks, is I'll take this leg back, I'll step back hard, and then scoop her head with my knee. Because now I'm starting to get into almost like an S-mount position. I can start attacking this here. I can start to transition into triangles and stuff. But what I ended up doing, we were near the edge of the mat, and it was this foot. But I was here because I had swept Kyle with a Omoplata sweep. And then I stepped back hard like this.
Ooh.
And we were at the edge of the mat, and I drove my right here on this foot right
Dang.
into the floor, like bam! And I was like, oh! And then I totally stopped. And it's even now when I wake up in the morning and I start to walk around a little bit, it hurts. And this was like almost a month ago now that this
Oh my
happened.
gosh.
So be careful with that. But that's another option. And that's one of the things I like about, as you're saying, the Omoplata position, is that we can take what they give us and work with it. And we're going to be in a better position, usually regardless of what they do. Unless they actually escape. So a lot of times in the streams when we're talking about this, I take the escape portions and I do them in a separate stream, or I do escape streams where we're looking about escapes and stuff. But today, I wanted Lauren to talk about escaping from the Omoplata too. There's a bunch of different options, a bunch of different ways. Probably the first way you're going to ever learn, in my opinion, is probably the worst way
I
to
agree.
escape, which is rolling over your inside shoulder. So let's show that real quick, because it is an option. You can use it. It's a way of getting out, but generally you're putting yourself either still in Omoplata, or you're putting yourself in the Omoplata mount, which we just talked about, or you're basically giving up side control. They're going to get inside control from the top. So go ahead and get Lauren in the Omoplata. Now, like I said, this is usually the first way you're taught, simply because I think it's the easiest
It's
way,
easy, yeah.
and it's the quickest thing you can get to. In my opinion, it's one of the quickest things out. The problem is you're putting yourself usually in a worse spot. So as soon as Ingrid starts to get, and Ingrid, let's say, yeah, boom, she's rolling over that inside shoulder, and what's going to happen is Ingrid's either going to come up in the side control here, she's going to keep that grip and come up to that omoplata mount we were talking about, or Ingrid can just roll with her and still be in the omoplata, and it's not going, you're not improving your position very much. And generally, when I talk about escapes and things like that, we want to escape to a position that we're better than what we left. If I'm escaping, half guard into mount, meaning like I'm in bottom half guard and I escape and they mount me, it's not better. I'm basically giving them something. Or if I escape to, give and they get side. I mean, that's not escaping. That's basically losing the half guard. But in this case, if you're an omoplata and you escape to an omoplata, you didn't escape. You escape to side control. That's generally not that great.
Yeah.
So Lauren can go ahead and talk about probably the way I like to defend this the most, because it gives us more options, and I think it creates a good base for us to attack from. So
I'll go over the.
Oh, okay. Actually, we'll
So
talk,
yeah,
okay,
if you're gonna roll over a shoulder, you actually don't do the intuitive thing that she's breaking down this. You think, okay, I roll over that.
Mhm.
I want to make sure I don't roll
Sorry,
over
yeah,
you.
I'll move out of the way here.
But actually, if you roll over your outside shoulder, that can actually open up some better things.
Then, yeah, so you can
And
turn
now I'm
in.
up on top, or you can start turning into that person.
It's leaving you in a much better. Giving you more options.
Yeah, you're not landing on your back. You're all of a sudden moving into.
You're giving yourself a ton more space.
Yeah. So I'm coming over, but now it's almost like this arm draggy type of thing.
Mm-hmm. You can come
And
up.
I'm up.
And the thing is, even if Ingrid follows and comes up with her, trying to essentially turn into that side control like we were talking about with the inside roll, the person that's rolling is in a much better situation to fight that. It's kind of like you're turning up into that person that's trying to. It's like if someone was trying to take side control on you, but you were turned into them. You have a lot more options. You can push away and regard. It gives you a whole lot more. A whole many. I don't know how to say this properly. You have a whole lot more options. This sounds wrong.
It sounds good to me.
Okay, you have many more options turning and rolling over your outside shoulder than you do on the inside shoulder. The inside shoulder is, I find like if you're about to get omoplata, like they're about to finish it because you have tight shoulders and stuff, then roll.
Yeah, if you're that far gone.
Yeah, then it's a better option
It's
than
your
not.
late stage.
Yeah. But I learned pretty early if I was going to roll, to try to roll on my inside shoulder or outside shoulder, because it's going to give me more options of recovering guard or coming up and taking a top position or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing we can do, and we talked about it a little bit, and we showed kind of some of the, I guess, less optimal ways of doing it, where we're basing with their hand and posturing up and creating, basing with their hand and posturing up and creating a framing where we can't get broken down. But Lauren's going to talk about how she likes to kind of frame up and base out of that without compromising other things.
Okay, so with the two things we just talked about, you are essentially kind of giving up the potential for the bottom position. So whenever I first get an omoplata locked on me, even if she gets this arm, I don't know. Omoplatas are hard to show on the video.
They are. It's hard. It's okay. I think people understand.
All right, so I'm going to take this close knee, and I'm going to put it right next to her hip, and I'm going to pinch my other leg kind of below her hip. And as you can see, I'm kind of leaning off to the side here. So I'm kind of just doing the opposite of what I wanted to do to break Ingrid down. So now I'm a little bit off to the side. It's going to be hard for her to actually bring me down here. My weight's over here. And I'm just kind of pinching my knees together here. So, this is what I like to go for first, because if I can get this, I don't have to worry about being on bottom. I can keep my top control and go from there. And sometimes here, it's going to be a slower thing. Or if you can kind of free your arm away from this hip and just eventually start using your pinched knees, pushing that, pulling this, try to get your arm out, and then we're up on
Yeah.
top.
The good thing about that is once you have those knees pinched, you got a knee on the top and knee on the bottom, and you can see without the omoplata all set up. But don't take the arm out of there. Turn this way a little bit. Yes, if you can see what she's setting up is essentially this, and you see how her
Sort
knees
of like
are.
a reverse knee on
What's up,
belly
Coin
type
Coin?
of thing.
What that's going to allow her to do is now use the strength of her core and her whole body to go ahead and get that arm back in there, to start to kind of pry that arm out. And it's going to be easier for her because she's using her whole body. You know, depending on the person she's going against, sometimes people are very strong and stuff like this, but what this does is it's going to wear them out. The people that are fighting against this are really wearing themselves out trying to keep that arm controlled. And this is where, as we've kind of talked about, having other options and being able to transition to other things.
And there are other escapes that follow off of that where you can kind of roll them over and stuff.
Yep, yeah.
So, but this is, you know, like if we can keep it simple.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very simple. And as she talked about, there is the other option of hopping over. It has its own problems because, like I said, if the person can just basically invert under you, they're going to come right back out to the omoplata again, or worse, they're going to roll out to a triangle or something, depending on what you're, giving them. Someone that's worked on this for a long time and is really good at these positions is going to have a lot of options, and they're going to be kind of, I want to say, they're going to be attacking you with a lot of different things. They're going to have the omoplata, you're going to posture up, they're going to attack the triangle. You might turn out of the triangle and go right back into the omoplata.
There's even arm bar setups and kimuras from the initial omoplata position, but you need to kind of shift your hips and your knee. But there's a ton of stuff from that position.
And that's why I wanted to talk about this a little bit this week. And like I said, we're not getting into the nitty-gritty details of every single option because there's just too much. But what we're trying to give you is a couple little thoughts and options and things on ways you can go. Especially if you haven't worked on any of the omoplata stuff or you've only done the basic omoplata positionings. You can start to see what your other options are, and you can kind of branch out a little bit, find other things that might work for you. If you're a much bigger person, setting up this omoplata, you might not be someone that's going to be like a crazy octopus attacking 8 different things, but if you could get the fundamental structure of if you're really good at breaking them down and not letting them posture back up and stuff and finishing this, then this is a good option to have. What I really like about this attack is that because I can get to this from different positions and different places. Sorry, my stupid face back in there. Because I can get to the different places, you start to learn where you can chain some of this stuff together. And in a scramble, where you have a grip control on the sleeve, you can start to set up the omoplata or set up attacking type omoplata type stuff in scrambles where you're starting to lose control of them. And shifting your hips and boom, attacking, and then getting, basically putting yourself in more control of the situation. Because ultimately, if we're having, I don't know, I don't want to say the perfect role, because I don't think that really exists. But if we're putting ourselves in the best position we can be, we're having as much control of our opponent as possible. And sometimes control doesn't necessarily mean they can't move. What it means is they're moving and doing things, and we're allowing them and basically attacking off of that. Where it's like, oh, we're attacking the omoplata. Well, they're really turning and pushing into me. Okay, well then I'll just open up and attack the triangle. Okay, well they start to break the triangle and turn out because they don't want to get stuck in the triangle. They gave me the omoplata back, and now they're rolling. Okay, I'm rolling with them. It's and I have control the whole time, even though I don't say they're dictating what's happening. They're basically defending, and I'm just chaining attacks off of their defenses. When you can start to put all that stuff together, and I think Lauren can speak to this too, because I've seen her do it to people, where, your omoplata. I mean, it's what happens when she gets me in these things. It's like I'm working on a defense, I'm defending out of something, and she's just going on to the next thing she knows is available. And then, I think the reason we have good roles when it comes to these type of things is because, you know, I'm getting out of the omoplata, but setting myself up into a triangle. But I know it. So when she goes for the triangle, I'm then changing back to the omoplata. But the problem is, against most people that aren't very good at this or haven't worked on this a lot, in the transition between the two, I can get out. They'll make a mistake, they won't get their hips right, whatever, and it gives me a space to get out. The problem with Lauren is like I'm giving up the triangle to get out of the omoplata. She takes the triangle, so I shoot back to the omoplata, and she's already ahead of me going back into the omoplata. And so it's like, it's frustrating actually at times because I'm stuck. And like I said, I think she thinks I'm letting her work. And I'm like, no, I'm trying to get out. I'm trying to get out, but I can't. And then eventually, I think a lot of times, eventually, I end up doing the bad roll, and then because I'm like, I'll get into a worse position and then work out of that because her on top.
We've all been there. We've all been there.
But it's like I feel like, well, if I give her side control, I can shrimp out. I can get out of that easier than I can get out of what I've set myself up into here, because she's ahead of me when it comes to the omoplatas and all that kind of stuff, and I'm like. I feel like my escapes are and that's the story of all jiu-jitsu. I mean, anytime I roll with my coach, that's how I feel, especially lately because he's been just beating the shit out of me. But not literally beating the shit out of me, but it's like he's just killing me in that there's nothing I can do. It's like I know how I'm losing the whole time.
You're just watching it.
I'm just watching myself. Yeah, I'm just watching myself slowly lose and knowing that okay, well, he's doing this. And he knows that my option to get out is this. And so I'm doing that. But I know what he's going to do because he's already ahead of it. And it's like, it's very frustrating. So I try to slow things down, which just makes it worse because then it's like I'm just making it in slow motion for him, which is easy for him to do. So.
Okay, so I thought I outsmarted him this week. Cause sometimes he'd be like, yeah, I'm gonna armbar you. And I'm like, no, you're not. Like, he calls it like you're in pool. But anyway, we were about to start rolling and we're standing and he said 2 points. So I think I'm really clever. So I grabbed his gi and I just sat and pulled guard. Yeah. And within about 2 seconds, he passed my legs and went knee on belly and got his 2 points. I was like, you son of a bitch.
Yeah. So I think that's what we're all trying to work for.
Here. So bad.
That's.
Oh my god.
When I roll with him, I don't feel bad. I feel like my jiu-jitsu's trash, but it's not really because then I roll with all types of other people and I'm fine. But that's why we keep training. That's why we keep working. Because if you're, I feel lucky that I train around a lot of people that train a lot. So I'm never like I'm never the best person in the room at any during any day. Some days I might be quote unquote the best person in the room, but it might be just because some of the other people are having down days. It's not because I'm at a place where everybody's so much lower than me all the time that it's like I have to find ways to test myself or push myself. And I feel like I've been pretty lucky throughout my whole training that I've always had people that were training just as hard or harder who make it very difficult for me to feel good about myself at any point. I know it might sound funny. But, I don't like it when I have a week where I just feel like I was on top of everybody and ahead of everybody all week. It feels good in that, like, oh, well, I did well. But if it's like a bunch of blue belts and a bunch of people less experienced than me, I don't feel like I've progressed as much as I have when I'm really getting pushed by other people that are on the same level as me or higher. Because then I feel like I think the trick to that situation, like if you're training with a lot of people that are a lot less experienced than you for a lengthy bit of time, it's putting yourself in situations where you're forced to work, you're forced to giving them good positions, and you're forced to get out, and as long as you have the ego or you don't have the ego where you're willing to like let them get your back and get you in a choke that you have to escape, you might not escape. When I was working triangle escapes not too long ago. There was a specific triangle escape that I was working that I've actually started to really get to work for me now, but I was getting triangled all the time. because I was getting myself in triangles a lot, trying to work on the escape. So going back to the omoplata stuff, it's the same thing. If you're working on this and it's not working right away, it's because you're working on it. Figure out, take notes, learn from how you messed up. Maybe you were controlling their posture enough, and then when they postured up, you weren't reacting in a fast enough to where you were able to sweep them back or whatever. And it's fine. They might posture out of it and turn in, and then they're in your guard, and you lost the position, but it's fine. Just try to think about the mistake you made, just like Lauren was talking about with the mistake she made during her match. She's going to learn from that. That's I think the reason that a lot of the people that we train with are good is because they take all that for what it's worth. They make mistakes and they go, okay, I made a mistake. I'm going to learn from that mistake. They don't let it, I don't know, they don't let it be a barrier that stops them from progressing. It's just like it's a step. A mistake I made was just a step. So try to remember that. I think that's it. I think we talked about everything we wanted to talk about. Think so? Yeah, I think we covered everything that I wrote down. So
thanks for chatting, guys.
yes, thanks. It really is good when people are chiming in and chatting and giving points and asking questions, because it makes us, generally I have a kind of an overview of what I want to work on or how I want to go about the stream. But at the end of the day, the stream, we're doing this for you. I'm doing this so that you guys can learn some stuff and all that. So, asking the questions that you want to have answered is really going to, it's going to serve you better than me just telling you what I think, at the end of the day. So thank you, Lauren, for coming and helping with everything. Thank you, Ingrid, for letting us twist your arm up a bunch and stuff.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Good sport.
Always good to have you.
Yes. Thanks, Coink. Thanks, everybody, for joining in. I guess I could open it up to any last questions before we cut everything off here. We're a little bit past 12, but that's fine. If you have any questions or anything specific about that, or a question about any other thing, we can cover it real quick or kind of talk about it.
Something you want in a future episode.
Yeah, something you want.
requests.
That's a big thing. Well, follow. Oh, I guess I should probably. I'm bad at this. If you don't follow me on Instagram, please follow me. The Instagram's down here. I post a lot of times. I'll post leading up to this, asking what people want to see. Because I have ideas about what I want to show each week and stuff. But if people give me ideas, they say, hey, I want to look at this, or hey, I've been having a problem with this. I'd much rather cover that. Something that the viewers want to see, more than just me spitting at you what I want to tell you. There might be something that I'm really itching to talk about or really wanted to show, but at the end of the day, if I'd rather show you folks what you want to see. So follow me on my Instagram. I post other things there. As I mentioned a couple weeks ago, I'm kind of open to do privates and stuff here now. So if you're interested in that, email me. There's an email link below as well. You can come here and re-record the whole thing, so you have a copy of the private session as well, so that you don't forget everything on the way. By the time you get home and go, oh, I paid for a private and I don't remember half of it. You'll have a video recording of the whole thing, so you can watch it over and over again. If there's a point you forgot about or specific thing that you did that you didn't remember what you were doing, you'll have a whole recording of the whole thing. So just a couple promotional things there and stuff. And as I've said in the last couple weeks and stuff, I'll have some pretty big announcements coming in the near future about some other stuff. We're still working on the details of all that. I think we'll start probably talking about that more in December. We'll see. But keep a lookout for that. Like I said, again, follow my Instagram. I'll be posting on there about it. And that's it. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for helping. And we'll see you next week. Yeah, I should be back from holiday vacation time next week. So we should have another live stream next Sunday. So
Yeah. Nice.
So that's it. Until
Enjoy
next
your
time, everybody.
Thanksgiving.
Yes,
Thanks,
happy
guys.
Thanksgiving. Have a good holiday. Don't eat too much You need to stay lean for jujitsu. No, I don't know. Bye, everybody.
Bye.